So, hello guys, welcome to this presentation. So, today we are going to talk about data privacy. So, most of you guys might know what data privacy is, and data privacy has been a buzzword for the past 1 year or more. It's because of the recent incidents associated with it, like the Cambridge Analytica's case associated with Facebook, the Google Play's customers information breach or leak, and similar cases. So those are some of the cases where data privacy, data breach, all those buzzwords came in. So before that, these things, data privacy or breach and all of the similar stuffs were not known very much. So actually it was not heard by the common people, and common people like us never didn't go behind that stuff, and we never wondered what's behind all those stuffs and all. Like we might be hearing all those things once in a while, but most of us didn't go behind that. So today we'll be discussing about this data privacy, and we'll be discussing about a few other stuffs like data breach or leak and the recent incidents associated with it in shortly. So first, let's have a look at some of the things which we are going to cover today. So today we are going to cover what data is, the features of data, how data is generated. After that, we'll be discussing about who uses this data, and then we'll be moving on to data privacy, data breach, how these things affects us, and we'll be discussing about the recent incidents which occurred along with this, and finally we'll be discussing on how to safeguard ourselves from these things. So let's move on. So first we can discuss about what data is. So data is some facts and statistics collected together for reference or analysis. So this is a official, or what, some kind of official description provided for what data is. So actually data can be any sort of information, that it can be of any format, be it images, videos, audios, or anything, text or anything. So data is of any data can be of any format. So that's a basic information about data. So when we look at the features of data, we'll get to know about it little more. So these are some of the facts about data. So data is everywhere, and it's generated everywhere. So I'll give an example. So consider a scenario where I'm going to use my search engine Chrome for searching something. So I'm going to use my Chrome browser on my phone. So I will be first unlocking my phone. I'm opening that Chrome, and then I'm searching for the recent advancement in artificial intelligence. So I'm searching that. So let's consider the time frame from the moment when I'm unlocking the phone to the moment till I press the search button. So now I will say, so we know data. I said data is everywhere. I said that because in in this particular time frame which I asked you to consider, there's a lot of data being generated. So let's go through that. So when I'm unlocking my phone and taking that Chrome application, it might be recording when I am opening or using that Chrome application. So that's going to be one of the data. And then it's going to check for what we are typing, like the pattern of how we are typing, and so that's another data. And then we are going to search for it, so that becomes another data. So we are actually typing that and searching for that, it becomes another data. So I said I unlocked my phone, maybe that might also become another data. So in the similar case, if data is being generated everywhere, like, and when after searching for that recent advancement in AI, I might be selecting some links, and that specific link which I click will also be another data. So it will be data like I searched for this thing and what found this useful, and similar is the case. So everything is data, everything is then going to be data, and that's the reason why we say data is everywhere. And coming to the next interesting fact, 88% of the data generated is ignored, and that is mainly by us, like the common people. But the fact is that though we are ignoring this data, Data, this kind of data is the backbone for many of the tech giants like Google, Facebook, and more. And finally, data is the new oil. So most of you guys might have heard about that particular sentence because one of the godfather of AI, Andrew NC, said that artificial intelligence is the new electricity and data is the new oil. So AI is changing almost every industry, like how electricity changed it where if 100 years ago. So similar for an electricity, data is oil is required, so data is the new oil. And for a better performing AI or machine learning algorithms, a huge amount of data is required. So that's why it's becoming the new oil. So data has high importance in the present situation and the future. So next we can look at how data is generated and how much data is generated. So let's have a look. Sorry. So how many of you have wondered how much data is being generated per day or how it's generated? So we had discussed how it's generated briefly. So now let's have a look at how much data is generated. So as you can see here, it's saying 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is being created. The interesting fact is that most of us don't know how many zeros are present in that. So to make it simple, let's like describe it as like 2.5 billion gigabytes of data is being created per day. So it's 18 zeros, like 9 zeros for that billion value and 9 zeros for that giga value. So it's 2.5 billion gigabytes of data being created per day, and it's just growing rapidly. And to add on with that, what the shocking fact is that 90% of the data which is available right now has been generated over the last 2 years. How many of you can imagine that over the last 2 years or past 2 years, 90% of the data which is available now has been generated? And do you know why? It has been due to the advancement in smart devices and more. More and more people have started using smart devices like smartphones, smart like smart cars, smart TVs, and smart audio systems, and many more. So with the advancement in the smart systems and IoT, so the amount of data which is being generated will grow. So like we all know that around half of the population does not have a viable or what good internet connectivity. So if that happens, like the amount of data being generated per day will double. So that's the case. So it's estimated that around 20 by 2020 around 1.7 megabyte of data will be generated per second for an individual. For an individual, 1.7 megabyte of what data will be generated per second. And like you can and the total amount will be very much higher than the current value. So it's an estimate for 2020. So that might change and that might be increasing, and that's not going to be a lower value. So next we can have a look at who uses this data. So now we have discussed what data is, its facts and some features, and we have discussed how data is generated and how much data is generated. But the next interesting thing comes when we discuss about who uses this data. So again, how many of you have wondered the same? So though this might be a familiar question for all, like, and most of us knows this answer. Advertisers use this data. So they use this data collected for their advertisement and all. So actually the fact is that data is being used by almost every industries right now. Automation is under what is currently occurring. For that, mainly all of them are choosing automate like machine learning, AI, and all those stuffs. For that, a large amount of data is required. So let's consider a scenario in a bank where a bank needs to what check whether a person is capable of closing the loan which he has took. So whether the bank has to provide him with a loan or not. So for that, the bank needs to know various like factors like how the income of that person, how he's spending it, and stuff similar like that. And the bank also needs to know whether other people who has the same factors have closed the loan or not. So similarly, a lot of data is required for that. And and a good prediction systems is also being developed and has also been deployed recently. So similar is the case. So in every field, data is required. But in this presentation, or what in this video, we are actually limiting to two of the main tech giants who are using our data to the most. And obviously, that's Facebook and Google. Actually, we are looking at these two to narrow down the list. Actually, it's going to be a big list of people or companies who are using our data. So we can discuss about that a bit later. So first, we can focus on Facebook and Google. So, most of us have seen this screen. This is a page where we can sign up or create an account on Google platforms. You know, when I was in what seventh standard, I still remember I wanted to create a Gmail account. So what I did was I went to Gmail, I clicked on the sign up button, and this page occurred in front. But the interesting fact is that I didn't notice this particular statement over there, that is create your Google account. So I didn't know what was that, or I didn't even notice what that particular thing was. So I just entered my first name, last name, choose what your surname for my account, and I entered the password and created an account. So actually, that was the first thing which happened. So when I created a Gmail account, actually I had access to all of that Google products like search, maps, YouTube, and many more. I didn't realize that. I just created a Gmail account and I was using that. So what happened was that when I started my Google account, actually Google created an account for me, as well as they created a profile in my name and started storing informations about me. And similar is the case with the next tech giant, Facebook. Here also, I entered my first name, surname, email address, password, date of birth. I chose whether I'm male or female, obviously male, and then I clicked on the sign up button. So actually, this was an interesting thing which I read back then. Facebook helps you connect and share with the people in your life. Actually, what a sweet statement is that, isn't it? So actually, the fact that is how it's going on nowadays. Facebook helps you connect with advertisers and share your personal data with people who are not in your life. So this is what it is happening right now with Google or Facebook. So actually, the question which I want to ask you here is, how many of you know that Google and Facebook actually stores information about us in a or like after creating a profile and all? How many of you know that? Actually, it's a quite unknown fact for most of the people. Google, like I said earlier, when we create our accounts on their platforms for the first time, they create a profile in our name. So what they're doing is they'll be tracking down what all stuffs we are doing, and they'll be storing it to what, their servers under our profile section. So do you know why they're doing that? Actually, the fact is they collect a lot of data is being collected without our permission. It's because they need to what, create a profile, advertisement profile for each person, and they will be using that data to train their machine learning models, which can be then used to show advertisements, personalized advertisements, and then they can earn a lot of money. So each of these steps has to be analyzed carefully. So first, let's discuss about collecting data without our direct permission. So while we are using the applications or website, they'll be asking for a lot of permissions, but under general names like access to camera, access to microphone, and location and similar stuffs. So when we are providing access to our camera, that means that they can take photos whenever they want. and they are doing that. They're taking random pictures at random times and they're uploading it to their servers, but actually they haven't confirmed it. So an example is, though we are considering Facebook here, I would like to tell an example related to Telegram. So recently, over the past 6 months or so, a new model of mobile phone was developed by Vivo, which has a pop-up system. That phone used Telegram. It started like the camera pop-up system started working at random times, and the users were of no clue what was happening. Actually, then the discussions started flooding in, and then later they realized the fact that Telegram was taking screenshots as well as images of the users during some during the times which they have set it for, and they have been uploading that images to Telegram. So there's a lot of threads available with respect to that in the internet. Anyone can search that and find it out. So actually Telegram has partially confirmed that, as per one of the news source which I have read, they are partially confirmed that they have been taking pictures, because there's a solid proof now, and they confirmed that partially, but there's what they confirmed that they haven't used it for anything and all. So similarly, uh, almost all of these apps like Facebook, Google, and everything access our data without a direct permission. So another question which arises here: how many of you know that Google or Facebook has been listening to us secretly? Actually, it's happening. So there has been a proof in YouTube. You can search for that. Like a person is trying to show that Google is record what hearing us secretly anonymously. So here what he does is that he close uh, he starts to talk about dog food randomly after opening his desktop. He talks about that dog food for a little around 5 minutes, and after that he searches for some sort of articles over the internet, and at that moment dog food articles started popping up. So this particular what method or what proof shows that Google has been listening to us. And similar is the case with what Facebook also. So another interesting thing is that which what confirms partially confirms this allegation is that Facebook's CEO or owner Mark Zuckerberg actually uses his device, whose or microphone on and front camera as well as back camera has been covered up. It's actually a true fact. All the devices which he uses has this kind of setup. All the microphones and cameras has been set up so his data doesn't get leaked. And what's he doing with others' data? He's been all of them has been playing with our data and all. So actually, they are collecting our data without our permission. Next, another one more thing which I want to add to this is that the thumbs up and thumbs down or the like unlike button has been generated or created by Facebook. And whenever we are clicking on a like or dislike button in any of the platform, that particular data is being shared with Facebook, and they're showing it in their advertisement profile for each individual. How many of you know that earlier? Very few. So actually they're doing that. So when I'm hitting a thumbs up for a movie in book my show, actually Facebook is getting that information. So another example which I want to add with this stuff particular thing or case with that permission is that I strongly believe that Facebook is looking into our WhatsApp chats. So I what I'm why I'm telling this is because when once upon a time when I was talking with my brother regarding a product on through WhatsApp, we talked about 10 to 15 minutes. We chatted text on WhatsApp. So after that, when I went to Facebook and browsed it, at that time I was using Facebook application. So when I was browsing it, at that particular moment, ads related to that particular product, it was Hotstar. We are talking about Hotstar, and ads particular to Hotstar Premium started to show up. So that this kind of incident shows that they are actually looking into all of our data without our direct permissions. And they now also say that they don't look into our WhatsApp data, it's been encrypted and all. But actually only god and Mark Zuckerberg knows the truth. Similar is the case with Google too. they have been looking with all of our data. So they are looking at our browsing history, the pattern in browsing, and all. So so they so you might be wondering what's for them for recording our audios and all. So it's actually quite an interesting thing. So Google, most of us know what Google Assistant is. So when Google Assistant was released 2 to 3 years back, we need to talk to it in a robotic voice. Like we need to ask, hey Google, what is the temperature now? It was kind of a robotic tone back then, but now we know, we just open Google and say, hey Google, what's the temperature now? We're asking like that. So do you know what happened at that time? So at the initial starting state, there were very few data or very less data, so they couldn't train their what voice pattern according to that. So once they have gotten a large number of data or huge data, they could easily train their models according to that. So now most of the what languages or the that particular fluency is being recognized by Google, and this is what is happening everywhere. And Google system became such a good thing, or like in understanding our language, and only because of this, and not because 60,000 of Google's employees came together and trained that model. So they have been, Google has been collecting this our data for a long time, and it's been when we are following some or some secure data privacy and data breach threats in various platforms, we usually get articles related to that. We can read a lot of those stuffs there. So now let's discuss about the next thing, using the data to train the machine learning models. Actually, we are discussing this point right now, the case scenario with Google Assistant. So they uses this data, this particular data, or the pattern of which we are what we are doing to what train their machine learning models, so that they can show personalized advertisements and they can earn money. So personalized advertisements means, so I said earlier, when I was talking with my brother regarding Hotstar, after that Hotstar, the ads related to Hotstar and Hotstar Premium started to show up. It was kind of a personalized ad. We were talking about Hotstar and we need to know, or we had to check that. So actually they showed us Hotstar. Obviously we'll be clicking on those ads to check the details. So when we are clicking on that ads, they are earning money. And the thing which we need to know here is that the advertisement system doesn't work like when we purchase some product at the advertising agency gets money. It's not like that. So it's actually if users click on a particular advertisement, the advertisement agency earns money. It's like for for an n number of clicks, it's an m number of dollars or money. It's like that. Like for 500 clicks or 1,000 clicks, it's like $10 per month or something like that. Actually, this is just a random number which are used for each business number, so it might vary. The cost per click CPC varies for different advertisements. So actually, when they show us personalized advertisements, we might be clicking on that ad, and they will be earning a lot of money. Actually, we'll be just wasting our time on watching these advertisements, and we will not be buying that. So sometimes we might buy the product. So it's a win-win for them, and it's actually a loss for us. Sometimes it might be useful because some sort of relevant data is being shared with us through advertising. So this is what is happening over there. So next we can look at how they store data. So how many of you know how they store this large amount of data? Actually, they are storing data on their high security what servers, and it's not accessible by the common people. And then they'll not be mentioning about that also. And finally, most of them store our data in an encrypted or an ordinary form. And I have mentioned there FB recent incident. So how many of you think to know about the FB recent incident on them not storing our passwords, account passwords in an encrypted form? Actually, this news came out 2 days back, and it was confirmed that Facebook stored 60
what 60 crore people's data or account password in a non-encrypted form. So actually, it was not accessible by other people. So Facebook employees could have easily access that. They could search for any profiles in their system and they can easily grab their password. So what could have happened if someone what breached into that particular data? The results might have been drastic. So actually, this is what is happening there. They are storing data on high-security servers, which is not accessible by common people, but it can be accessed. But actually, they are spending a lot of dollars on their privacy and all this stuff. Actually, when there are a lot of videos and restrictions available on how Google and Facebook stores our data. So this is how they store data. So now next we can look at what data privacy is. So actually this is our main objective for today. Data privacy. So we'll be just already discussing about that. After that we'll be discussing about the incidents related to it. So you can read it here. Data privacy relates to how a piece of data or information should be handled based on its relative importance. So it deals on how some information should be dealt with based on its relevance. So for business, like as you know, for Facebook and Google, for their platform to work efficiently, like they show apps so that the data privacy definition goes beyond that particular personally identified information. So they gather data using which they create a profile post, and the interesting fact is that they gathers more data than what we know about us. So it this particular data for business includes information that helps the company operate, for be it for research or development or for the financial information. Actually, this is how Google and Facebook harvest a lot of money. So it has been, like, it's been told that in 2018 Google earned more than 2000 no 2000 in 2018 Google earned more than 110 billion dollars. That's around 11 lakh crores per year, and it's growing. It's not decreasing, it's growing each and every year. And it's being said that in 2017-18 Facebook earned around 40 to 45 billion dollars, but it might have had a strike or what strike back in the last year because of this data privacy and data breach allegations. So this is what data privacy is. The what how the private data privacy relates to how a piece of information or data should be handled based on its importance or its relative importance. So now next we can have a look at data breach. So data breach is another buzzword which we have been hearing along with data privacy. So data breach is the intentional or unintentional release of secure or private or confidential information to an untrusted environment. So, I mentioned a Cambridge Analytica's data breach as well as Google Plus data breach. So, most of the time, like, this data breach is unintentional. So actually the fact is some other agencies might be trying to hack into the system and gather data, or sometimes the poor design of the whole system might cause a breach in data. So it consider first we can discuss about Cambridge Analytica's data breach. So it actually came about, this particular news came about in early 2018, when a lot of journalists published some data gathered through some of their journals. So what happened was in 2015, one of the research scientists from Cambridge University, data scientist from Cambridge University, developed an some app named as Know Your Digital Future, something like that. So that particular app gathered information about the user, almost every information regarding the user from the Facebook's profile, including that particular advertisement profile too. So he shared that application with Cambridge Analytica for some reason, maybe for money or not. So he shared it with Cambridge Analytica. So Cambridge Analytica has been using this app for their platform, for the analytics and purposes and all. So the
Facebook's design, that poor design of Facebook, actually allowed this particular application to collect data from friends of friends. You know what that term is. You have most of us are familiar with that particular thing. So when if I am using that particular app, that application had access to all, not only my data but to all of my friends data too. So I have approximately around 80 friends in Facebook. So if I'm using that particular app, it has 81 users information. So Cambridge Analytica confirmed that they accessed 30 million users information. But the interesting fact was that Facebook confirmed that around 85 million users profile were affected. you know it's simply because that particular poor design from that Facebook's part. So that's what happened. So Facebook didn't take care of the privacy seriously back then. So, and after that also, Mark Zuckerberg what cited this incident as an incident or mistake and all, and that's what led to an outrage. Sorry. So this is what's happening. So this data breach or data leak might be intentional, might not be intentional. So another case is Google Plus data breach. So it happened around 1 to 2 months back. Like Google came out that there has been a data breach or data leak from the Google Plus platform. And what happened was, like, some of the information which was meant to be private was available to the public. So actually no one knew about that feature very much. So it was actually there for around 3 years, and that's one of the main reason why Google Plus is being shut down in this early April, first week of April. So along with that, around for 5 to 6 days, Google Plus APIs had also some bug with it, and it also enabled users information. So developers could have easily grabbed more and more information during that 5 to 6 days. So actually, this particular thing affected around 52.5 million users. So Google Plus is shutting that platform in early April. But actually, and Facebook on the other side is going on making some statements which might be false. So that's what is happening. So these are the recent incidents which occurred along with in the recent time. So next we are look at how it affects us. So when they have access to our data will be others, and they can do anything with our data. So they can sell our data for any purpose. So we talked about Cambridge Analytica earlier. So do you know what Cambridge Analytica did? They gathered information from all these stuffs. They could easily use that for any particular thing. So it's being said that Cambridge Analytica had its presence during 2016 elections on United States and all. It's not been yet confirmed, but it says it has its presence there. And the interesting thing is that Cambridge Analytica gathered enough information to generate a physiological map, which could provide insights on people's usage of different things, and so that they could show advertisements based on that. So it was actually used for political campaigns. This Cambridge Analytica had its presence during the UK Brexit and some Mexico political things. So it's also said that Cambridge Analytica had its presence in India during its elections in 2014 and all. So our data will be with others. They can use it to what, as just say advertisements, so that we will fall for their bait. So that's what is happening with this personalized advertisements and all. So we discussed earlier that they secretly listens to us, records our audio, screenshots, and videos without our permission. So all of these stuffs are being captured by almost everyone, and it's being used against us. So that's what's happening. And do you know, let's check whether it's intentional or not. As discussed earlier, a data breach may or may not be intentional. Mostly it's because of unauthorized access or due to improper measures for storing the data we discussed earlier. Facebook didn't have a proper measure to store our data, and Google too. Facebook didn't show our passwords, around 60 crore people's passwords. That's around zero point 0.6 billion, zero point 0.6 billion users password in a non-encrypted format, which was accessible by everyone in the every Facebook's employees. So this kind of stuff, so it might be intentional or may not be intentional. So when someone is hacking to their service and gathering data, it's an intentional data breach. So that particular organization which hacked into their servers was intentionally going to leak our data and all. So have you wondered what they are doing with our data? Actually, we had discussed this: show personalized advertisements and make money worth billions. We discussed on how that advertisement works, cost per click. So that's how they make money. When we click on that particular personalized advertisements, they earn a lot of money. And that's how Google makes around what 11 lakh crores per year, and Facebook makes around $40 billion per year and more. And the next thing is they create new tools for various purposes for army, advertising, etc. I just mentioned the army because it's being said that Facebook has been generating a tool which can recognize people's faces, and they might provide it with Google. There's an allegation that Google is also behind it. So if they might provide for the US Army or the Pentagon or some sort of organizations like that. So let's look at an example. So how many of you know the automatic tagging, face tagging, or person tagging in Facebook's posts? So when a friend of mine uploads a photo which I have my presence in it, so it actually asks me whether it should Facebook should tag me in that post or not. So we can enable auto tagging or not. So if we enable auto tagging, it will not ask us, it directly tags our name with that. So do you know what's happening behind that? So they actually has a machine learning algorithm or AI algorithm which can recognize our faces. Do you know how dangerous it is? It can be misused for any purposes. So along with that, they might may or may not have our biometric informations too, and most other private informations about us. So they can use it for any purposes. So already they have a tool which can identify our faces, and what if they are going to increase the accuracy on that? So it's going to be a dangerous situation. So another thing which they're going to do with the data collected is selling that data to those who need. So towards the first, we discussed about how a financial enterprise require data on the loans and particular details and stuffs. So it's actually useful for both of this. So the data seller can earn money by selling this data, and that small enterprises can increase their business with that particular data. So another interesting thing, how many of you have, like most of us, there's no question about, most of us have what so this particular meme, the 10-year famous 10-year challenge meme. Actually the 10-year challenge, what, I don't know actually, the 10-year challenge, it's actually a meme. The second one is actually a meme. So I need everyone to just read this particular meme. The same thing which I said earlier. After this particular 10 years challenge, Facebook has information on how a user looked 10 years ago and how they look now. Actually, they could have used it for a facial recognition AI system. The interesting thing is that actually a person created this meme and started spreading it. Actually, it went like a viral post, and it was one of the most viral meme in the recent times. And the interesting fact is that Facebook actually tweeted that they didn't start this particular challenge, and it was some random guys who started it. And actually there's is a another meme which says that like this particular thing, Mark Zuckerberg laughing, and like, I will start it, and everyone will start this 10-year challenge, so we can grab a lot of data about how people looked back 10 years back and now, so we can use it to train our AI models. So there's a meme like that too. So actually we should think beyond what's in front of us. We should be thinking what's happening with this data being collected and all. So though Facebook may not have started this thing, But Facebook had its advantage, had the advantage about for this stuff, only because they could include what improve their face recognition thing and all, and in turn their advertisement, personalized advertisements, and in turn their earnings. And that's only how Mark Zuckerberg became one of the top 10 richest person in the world. So finally, we can look at how to safeguard ourselves from these kind of data privacy stuffs and data breach. So first, what we need to do is to introduce a limit in data privacy, or what a limiting stuff which you are sharing online. So actually we should not share much of our details in our uh, online or social profiles. So once I added what my phone number, email id in my Facebook profile, but now I'm suffering a lot because of it. Some people have started calling that, some people who have no access to that have started calling me from that mobile or using that mobile number. And I tried a lot of times to remove that particular thing, but it's not working. So actually they are asking for a different email id. I am trying to provide that, but they are not willing to accept it, so they're actually not sending the verification stuff, and I'm not able to what go beyond that. So next, what I need to say is we should use browsers in incognito mode or in guest mode. It's because while we are using with our account signed in, Google and Facebook has access to that directly. Especially Google has what access to that. When we are in incognito mode or guest mode, though they get to know the search details, they can't store that particular information in our advertisement profiles. It's because we are not signed in, so we should do that. And another thing is never to click on that particular ads. So when we click on a particular ads, all of the similar kind of ads start to show up, and we'll be clicking on that too. We'll be wasting our time, especially our data, and they'll be earning a lot. And finally, use applications only from trusted sources and not Facebook. Facebook and Google, all of them are listening to us. So it's actually, though it's from a trusted source, I prefer not to use Google's or Facebook's app. Though it's kind of difficult to uninstall those stuffs, I prefer not. Actually have what unenabled that particular Facebook's Messenger and Facebook app which has been installed with the Android operating system. So actually, I'm not using their Facebook app. So when we are using the Facebook apps and all, they have actually direct access to all the stuffs. So actually, Facebook is a cunning thing. Like they actually crosses the limit which has been set by Google each and every time. They actually find some methods to bypass that particular limits so that they can have access to a large data. They can directly gather a lot of data. So next thing, use browsers like Safari or Firefox. Safari, I prefer Firefox the most. Firefox along with DuckDuckGo the most, because actually they are the only two browsers. Firefox and DuckDuckGo, the only two browsers which provides a lot of concern to our privacy. So actually they are not. It's being almost confirmed that they are not digging out our information or data, and they're actually implementing another strategy to earn money or earn revenue from our searching. So that's what is happening there. So we can use the best thing is DuckDuckGo followed by Firefox, and then go incognito. We have discussed about that. And don't sign into various platforms using FB or Google accounts. So when we are starting when we have to start some account in some new platforms, there's an option to sign up with Facebook or Google. So it's better not to use that particular thing, because both of those platform, the new platform as well as Facebook or Google, has access to that particular information too. So they'll be having access to what all details we'll be sharing over there. So that's another method or that's another way by which we'll be sharing our information with others. So these are the tips by which how we can safeguard ourselves from that. So finally, I'd like to conclude by saying technology is advancing rapidly. AI is the new electricity and data is the new oil. And now you know that that particular data is you. 1.7 megabytes of data to be generated per second for an individual. And all that data regarding you, your privacy and many more. So share your data with caution. So actually that's the end of this presentation. So if you have any doubts or want anything to be clarified, you can actually contact me using my email ID, or you can drop down comments in the comment section. And yes, so if you have like this a particular source of information, just subscribe to my channel and share this information with others. So yes, share your data with caution. Make the necessary steps to avoid sharing our information. So if anyone wants to know how to what have less very much less advertisements in Facebook, then just contact me, ping me, I'll let you know the details. It's actually quite easy, simple. And we can also know for with how many platforms Facebook is sharing our data, or that particular platform is sharing their data with Facebook. So actually we can check that all of those stuffs and cancel that. So if anyone wants to know information regarding that, just contact me. I'll be available in time. So that's all with this video. Thank you. See you in the next video.